The second generation Lenovo Tab M10 HD is an Android tablet that costs just $130, which means it can be an interesting choice for many looking for an inexpensive family tablet. In fact, the kids mode is advertised in particular, and you can get a Smart Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen with a smart dock and the Google Assistant. I'm Angel from mynexttablet.com, and in this review you learn how good the newest iteration really is. Let's look at the different versions first. There's the Lenovo Tab M10, which I reviewed almost 2 years ago. Then there's a new Lenovo Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen that I'm reviewing here, which is the direct successor. In addition to that, Lenovo is selling a Smart Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen. While the internal hardware of the two is identical, that one comes with a smart dock, and you can use the tablet as a smart display. There's also a Lenovo Tab M10 FHD Plus that I reviewed at the beginning of 2020, which has a smart tab version as well. Yes, that's a bit confusing, so if you see a deal or so, double check if you're buying the tablet you really want. I'm starting this review with the design. The Lenovo Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen looks pretty. We're getting a metal body with two plastic sides, which are housing the speakers and a couple of ports. It weighs 420 grams and is 8mm thin. You charge it using a USB-C 2.0 port, which you can also use to connect lots of accessories, but external monitors are not supported. On the other side, there's a headphone jack, and on the top sits a micro SD card slot. There's a connector for the smart dock, since the hardware is the same as the smart tab, but it seems like you can't buy the dock separately. When holding it in landscape orientation, we get a speaker on each side, so 2 in total. I think the sound is pretty good for its price, but compared to the Apple iPad 8, the bass is much weaker. To be fair, that one costs more than twice as much. Sadly, the webcam is not placed in the middle, but on one of the sides, and it has a 5MP resolution. The main camera on the back offers 8MP. Photos and videos look fine for this price class. I like that you can unlock the tablet using facial recognition, which works as it should in good light. However, it's using the webcam alone, which means it's not as secure as Apple's Face ID. As the name suggests, the Lenovo Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen has a 10.1-inch screen with an HD resolution of 1280 by 800 pixels. For this size, I think it's a bit too low. Icons and text look a bit blurry compared to screens with a full HD resolution. Sure, in the past we were all fine with such a low pixel density, but it's not ideal. Besides that, it's a good display. Colors seem accurate and viewing angles are wide. With 400 nits, it's quite bright for a cheap Android tablet, but it's not as bright as the iPad 8. That's to be expected, of course. According to Lenovo, the screen is especially gentle to your eyes. It's certified by TÜV Rheinland and it's reducing blue light. I'm very disappointed that you can't use the tablet to watch Netflix with HD resolution. Since it has a wideband level of S3, it does not support the necessary DRM standards. That means you're stuck with standard definition movies and TV shows. This has been an issue for a couple of years now with Lenovo's Android tablets. I reviewed almost all of them that have been released recently, and none of them are capable of Netflix HD playback. That's very disappointing, since many want to watch Netflix and other streaming services on their tablet. Well, you can watch YouTube and local videos in HD, of course. Inside the Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen runs the MediaTek Helio P22T octa-core processor with 8 cores that clock at up to 2.3 GHz. You can get versions with 2 or 4 GB of RAM, as well as a 32 or 64 GB internal storage. I have the one with 4 GB and 64 GB because it's not much pricier, and that's a lot of storage for this price range. Benchmark tests from Geekbench 5, 4 and 3DMark show that the performance of that Helio P22T is below the Samsung Galaxy Tab A7, which is a bit pricier. And it's weaker than the Amazon Fire HD10. Test results are very similar to the Lenovo Tab M10 FHD Plus. No wonder, because internal hardware is the same. When surfing the web in Chrome and watching YouTube, I didn't notice any major performance lags. It's certainly fast enough for that. I noticed that multitasking works surprisingly well which might be due to the 4GB of RAM that my version has. With the 2GB one, it might not work as well. The benchmarks suggest that this is not a gaming tablet, and it's true. You can play PUBG Mobile with the lowest settings, which doesn't look great, but it runs fine. You will have to live with occasional stutters, and you can't even select HD graphics. I noticed the same with Asphalt 9. The graphics look terrible compared to high-end competitors, and there are some heavier lags. Simpler games run great, of course. I played Evolution 2 and didn't encounter any hiccups or so. Lenovo ships the Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen running Android 10, which is great. In the past, most tablets from Lenovo have gotten one big update, so while I can't promise anything, I'm guessing that it will get Android 11 next year. I always like that Lenovo is shipping their tablets with almost pure Android. The interface is much less customized than Samsung's, Huawei's or Amazon's, which often can seem a bit overloaded. Google's apps are pre-installed, as well as an FM radio and the Video Plus app, but that's it. Among the pre-installed Google services are YouTube Kids and Google Kids Space. The later one is the Kids mode. You can set up different users on this tablet, including ones for your kids. Since I don't have any, it's always hard to judge for me how good these Kids modes are. But Google Kids Space seems much better to me than Samsung Kids, for instance. The Google Assistant is pre-installed too and works just as it does on your phone. If you love the Assistant, it makes sense to get the Smart Tab M10 HD with the Smart Dock because it allows you to use this tablet as a smart display. I like that we get a work mode too, which was called productivity mode in the past. You can activate it in the settings. It's not a real desktop mode as you might be familiar with from Samsung or Huawei, but it's a more work-friendly view with the taskbar where you see open apps and the 3 buttons get pushed to the side. It's easier to navigate Android using a mouse and keyboard that way. In my battery test, the Tab M10 HD got a runtime of 6.5 hours. For this, I'm always looping an HD video on YouTube at maximum brightness. That's not an outstanding result, but a fine mid-range one. Well, that's the end of my review of the 2nd generation Lenovo Tab M10 HD. I like that we're getting a premium feeling body and almost pure Android 10. The software makes a great impression in general because of the work mode and Google Kids Space. I also like that we can get an unusual large amount of RAM and storage. The performance of the MediaTek processor is not perfect, but fine for most use cases. You can't expect a great gaming performance, and it's a bit disappointing that the screen has an HD resolution only, but besides that, it's a good one. That you can't watch Netflix with HD is a bummer, of course. I wonder what's going on there. Whether I can recommend the Lenovo Tab M10 HD 2nd Gen depends on the price, mostly. It's fine starting at $130, but in most countries it's a bit pricier. There are lots of competitors in this price range, so make sure that you compare prices. I think this can be an excellent value if you can find a good discount. The good thing is that Lenovo tablets often are heavily discounted during events like Prime Day and at other times too. Let's check out its competitors. The Lenovo Tab M10 FHD Plus is a fantastic alternative because it's almost the same tablet, but its screen has a full HD resolution. It's running Android 9, but it should get an update to Android 10 soon. If prices are the same or similar, I think it's worth it to get the higher resolution one. Otherwise, the advantages and weaknesses are the same. A more powerful competitor with the Full HD resolution is the Samsung Galaxy Tab A7. Usually it costs a bit more, but I think it's a better gaming tablet. Here you can watch Netflix in HD resolution. I like that Samsung usually releases 2 big updates, but if you want to have 64GB of storage, you'll have to pay quite a bit more. If you're fine with the heavily customized interface and are capable of installing the Google Play Store yourself, it's worth it to check out the Amazon Fire HD 10. Depending on the version, it can be cheaper or about the same price. Here we do get a Full HD screen and you can watch Netflix in HD. You will have to be happy to live in Amazon's universe though. That means Alexa instead of the Google Assistant. Alright, that's the end of my review of the Lenovo Tab M10 HD 2nd generation. If you have any questions, write them down below. I'm NJ from mynexttablet.com. Thanks for watching and see you next time.